Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education. So there is so much dialogue on, especially when I'm on LinkedIn, about AI literacy. And it's interesting because when I was teaching in the 90s, I say that a lot, internet safety and literacy, right? Digital literacy actually incorporated not only the how to use, but also the dangers and to beware. But now I feel like AI literacy, people comment on how it's just focused on how to use it. And I don't really see that, but I guess I've kind of thought of it in two different categories, AI literacy and AI citizenship. And that way it's kind of covers all bases. But we have someone who's really been diving in, and I'm really looking forward to hearing his perspective and guide us along the way.
Yes, and what makes his perspective even better is that Tony Vincent has been in edtech for a long time. I have been a fangirl of his for I don't know how long. I would see his name at an ISTE conference, and then I would go get in the long line and have to wait an hour to get into the room because it was packed. And he always has a sellout room whenever he's there. And so he is a person that has been in this. He even a few years ago went back to the classroom, and he continues to work as a substitute. I really like that. Someone that stays in it and stays engaged. And so without further ado, Tony Vincent, birthday boy, last week before, it was all over the internet. It blew up. Welcome to LinkedUp Podcast. We are so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Jamie. And talking about teaching in the 1990s, my daughter called it the 1900s. So back in the 1900s, did you do this and that? So that's how I refer to my early teaching years.
I love it. I love it. So Tony, tell us a little bit about what you've done, and then bring us up to today and what you're doing.
Oh, goodness. Well, I've always just been obsessed with teaching and learning and technology. So from my very first year of teaching back in the late 1900s,
yes.
I used different technologies. I had a classroom website in 1998 when before Google was around. You'd actually go to Yahoo and click Education K-12, and there were like 3 websites. And my class site we called Planet Fifth was there. Later on, our classroom went 1-to-1 with Palm Pilots because laptops were too expensive then.
I remember that.
2001, we did that, and we ended up having people wanting to come to our classroom from across the country because I had this website and there wasn't a lot of information out there, and people were really thinking about Palm Pilots and just getting technology in the hands of kids. What does that look like? So we ended up having days where we hosted people, and my students showed off what they could do and what they knew. And then I became my school tech specialist, and we started one of the first podcasts from an elementary school called Radio Willow Web is the name. Bad podcast for a first grader to try to say with a Radio Willow Web.
Yes.
but it made for great audio to listen to, and I'm really proud that served as a template for so many other school and classroom podcasts. And then I became an entrepreneur and speaker, and I do what I can to help teachers. And I love to infuse creativity and fun. I want joy in teaching, and that's what technology always, for me, went hand in hand with joy because it was so fun and I could bring in creativity. So I try to do that with teachers now with modern topics. I went back to the classroom in 2018-19 school year and learned a lot, had Chromebooks for all my kids then. And now with AI, the school district contracts with me, and I'm their AI consultant. And leading the way with this K-12 district in Council Bluffs, Iowa, where I live. And we are tackling, Jamie, the concept of AI literacy, making sure that it encompasses more than just how to use it.
Right. That's so funny because your trajectory is exactly my trajectory, except for a couple of years later, I think. But it's it's really the same. And I think we have such a unique perspective, having taught in the 90s during the explosion of the internet. And then, seeing all of the different phases with, between, so I was a technology director when we implemented a Palm Pilot one-to-one program as well, same year in 2001. And so just seeing that the progression and seeing where we've gone. So we also see where we did really well, but also where we went wrong. And so I think that's what we're trying to do or not do with AI literacy. So what are some of your strategies that, when you have that perspective, what are you trying to do and not do?
Yeah, well, first, I spent a lot of time researching what approach are we going to take for this, and working with a chief academic officer for the Council Bluffs schools. We decided that we wanted a series of lessons that could be taught in their school. They call it advisory, but all middle school and high school have this short period every day where they have mini lessons. They also do grade checks and a lot of other things. But we thought if we could have a series of lessons there, we'd hit every middle schooler and high schooler and every teacher, because every teacher has an advisory. So then with that in mind, I'm making these lessons for students, but they're also a back door to get teachers understanding the same thing. And so this approach is we're just rolling it out this school year, and so far so good. But I made these lessons that needed to be pretty simple because advisory is a short period of time, just slideshows they can call it that have discussion questions, maybe some videos, things to think about. So as I was planning these, I wanted it to be more than just here's how you use AI, right? So I looked at lots of different approaches, and everybody loves coming up with acronyms and frameworks and this or that. And I went through them all and thinking, well, maybe I'll make my own. And then finally I landed on one from Matt Miller and Holly Clark. They just call it ACE. So that was the acronym. So we're acing AI literacy, and the ACE it stands for, so you get these three parts. You get the awareness so that they understand exactly what AI is, where it is, they can identify it and know about it. The C is critique. And so that they kind of question what kind of outputs are they getting from the AI, and critiquing their own use of AI, when and how and why and all that. And the E is exploration. That's really the usage of it. And then also the implications for themselves and society and the environment. So landing on ACE brings together the awareness, critique, and exploration. And that's the direction we went and are going. And each lesson is encompassed in an essential question. I worked with AI to refine these questions. So I wanted them to be short, easy to understand, and a little bit like irresistible to kids. Like, ooh, I kind of want to know the answer to that question. Then we go through the quick these mini lessons, then fill in the blanks for this question. And at the end, the teacher can ask the class that essential question, and they hopefully should be able to answer it.
That's great. Because that foundation allows for, and that exploration is built in, right? So you're teaching them the how-to, you're teaching them to be critical, and at the same time, they're interested and engaged because of that hook that you provided for the exploration. So they can dig deeper and want to know more, and that's where you're helping them with the prompting, which is so great. One of the debates and one of the challenges is that now we have, and you mentioned you're doing this for middle and high school, but even younger kids have it in their hands, whether we give it to them or not. So it's not so much that we need to use it in teaching and learning in the primary grades, but how do we still at the same time provide the awareness part to protect them? And then my second part to that is they're learning the how to sometimes faster than the teachers are. And we can't wait to train the teachers. It almost seems like ACE is a way to train teachers and students almost simultaneously, because we kind of have to do that.
Yeah, and I did get a chance to train all of the teachers during a little summer academy and back to school PD. So I did get to introduce our ACE lessons and kind of demonstrate how they're taught and get them excited, hopefully, for doing them, because I think I got to pilot some of them last spring as I was writing them, and I'm like, this is really fun to teach because it's interesting, and well, I designed it, so I made it so it's fun.
Right.
I am in the midst. I have a tab open here of how are we going to address this in elementary, and so I'm still researching that piece, but there's still like the awareness piece is important, and to know that it's not another human on the other side, and that it doesn't understand exactly what it's saying. It doesn't have feelings, even if it seems like it does. And some of those important things, there are kids who are developing some unhealthy relationships with AI, and we really need to make sure that
they can distinguish, right? Because it really is a slippery slope. I mean, honestly, it's not just kids doing that. It's adults also. And so if adults can go down that slippery slope and not be able to distinguish between the non-human and the relationship that's being built, then how can we expect young students to? So that's why, if they're going to, and again, I mean, yes, a lot of these tools have age restrictions, but we've known with all of the other programs that kids get around those. And sometimes parents, can get around those. But with AI, it's a really tricky one that we have to be so careful of and really distinguish for mental health sake, that it's not your friend. It's not your friend.
I recently read some research that, we were hoping that AI would help people develop apps and new programs and all of those things. But the number one use is really for social emotional support. And that is an ethical dilemma for educators, because do we want kids to depend on this, but yet there are adults depending on it? And how do we do that? It really is.
How do we determine if it's helpful or hurtful?
Exactly, because it can be helpful. It really
can be helpful. It can. And I think that's where the C comes in. Really getting kids to think twice and be critical. So I think even the primary, the A and the C can, without having to, and exploration, but, at that young age, it's still like, do we use it with them? Do we not? But at least we know that they are getting it into their hands anyway, make them aware and make them critical. So, so that's the trick. Do you think you'll be doing a little bit of that in the elementary grades?
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And there are already a lot of resources out there. They're just not quite packaged in the way that we want to deliver them in our school district. So I'm trying to refer to things and then kind of mold them together into how we want to use them.
And Common Sense Media has some great tools as well.
They're my number one source.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I figured.
Can you give us an example? I'm dying to hear an example.
I was hoping you would ask, Jerri. Let me tell you. So we start out with this. This one is probably the least glamorous one, but it gets us started. It's just how is AI used in everyday life? And there's a video I found on YouTube that actually goes through a little bit of this. It's only like 3 minutes long because we needed short ones, and that just gives them an awareness, and then also it gives them an awareness that there are different types of AI. There's reactive AI and predictive, and then the big one that we're using is generative.
Right.
So then they just start recognizing it. Then we have another question of how can chatbots sound so smart and still get things wrong? In this lesson, it all centers on how an LLM works and how it works with natural language processing to understand you and deliver an answer. And so try to do it in student-friendly ways, knowing that AI looks for patterns and it's trained on patterns and then spits out a guess for you. uh, and then I have examples of like, think in there, and I have a warning sign that says, warning, these jokes were written by an AI chatbot because they're bad at jokes. And so listen, and when you look at a joke made by AI, you can tell where it's going. It grammatically makes sense, and you can kind of tell like, oh, I see what it's going for, but it just doesn't have that understanding of humor and sarcasm, and that doesn't understand what it's saying.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good way to get, because kids love jokes, right? So this is a good way to get them in that critical phase. I love that. And what grade do you use that one with?
All of these are used with grades 6 through 12.
Got it.
And we've modified them so the language is a little different between the middle school and high school. Sure. But at first I was going to make completely different lessons. And then I realized like, these are too good and too valuable. Like they'll work for 6 through 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for adults.
And
and this one, we wanted to go over we have very short guidelines in Council Bluffs schools for AI, but the essential question is, how do the Council Bluffs school districts AI guidelines help us become better digital citizens? And it's really a way to dig into, we have three core values there of accuracy, honesty, and safety that we need to reinforce there.
So those are the guidelines. Pretty simple. Is that what you're saying?
They're very simple. They sit on one page.
Yes.
That's great.
Right. Let's say that again. It was the three words.
It looks at the accuracy of AI, being honest in your use, and being safe.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
Great.
Yeah.
Are teachers still so concerned about using AI to cheat? Speaking of honesty.
Yes, it's their number one concern. Yes.
Really? Yeah.
In the trainings that I just did, and the exit tickets, the teachers definitely, they're excited, but they also recognize, and they've already received. It's like they know when a student pretty much is turned in something a good term is AI slop. Have you heard that? So it's called slop when you have like low quality, generic, sometimes inaccurate content. It's just
slop a lot.
It's just copying and pasting. It's just slop, and people are worried that, besides students turning in slop, is that the internet is turning into AI slop because it's just spitting out so much stuff that's being published.
So the solution to that, though, is to change your teaching, your instructional, and your assessment practices. So what are some different techniques that you're using to help teachers make that shift? Because AI can be this really great disruptor and driver for us to be shifting our practices. Now, again, top down, we have to change assessment practices. But if we can do it in our own district ecosystem, what are some techniques that you're giving them to do that?
Yeah. It goes with one of my essential questions in one of my ACE lessons is, what does it take to get AI to actually help you think? So that's where, if teachers want to invite AI to be part of it, I call that AI assisted. And then if you don't want you want to create an assignment where students really won't want to or can't really use AI, then that's AI resistant. There's probably better words for those. With AI resistant, it really is emphasizing the process. And I've always been a big fan of teaching through project-based learning. And so like AI could be a great assistant with that, but there's no way it can go through the process with you. Like you've got to do the process yourself.
Yeah. Right.
So emphasizing the process along with having students really understand the why. Why are you doing this assignment?
Yeah.
And, just like when you understand why you're doing something, then you know that you know your basis for motivation. Like, we're doing this because you really got to learn comma placement. And so if AI places your commas for you, you're not going to understand later on how to do it yourself. That's a simplified version, but that's still not going to explain, like, really looking at why are students cheating or turning to AI. And that's how I start my workshops when we're talking about AI, is why do they cheat? And And it's because they don't have time. They wait the last minute. They procrastinated. They don't actually understand the content.
They don't care about it.
Yeah.
They don't care about the content. So that there's a variety of reasons why they might cheat. So if you can understand that and focus on those, then maybe you're onto something. But other things of making it, changing it, we usually talk about it through writing and stuff. Through writing, if you can change the writing prompt that you're giving students into something that's more personal or localized that AI may not be aware of, that can be a piece to help make it AI resistant. Offering choices, if we're addressing that motivation piece, we're far motivated if we can make choices, and hopefully multiple choices in what our assignment is, can reach that motivation piece. Check-ins with students, conferencing with them, or even having them collaborate. It's really hard when you're doing a collaborative project to have AI take it over.
Yeah. Right. Oh, sure. Right.
Yeah. And going back to really focusing on the process, checking in on that process as the teacher, make that part of the assignment, divide assignments up into little pieces so you can see the process happening, including requiring reflection. And especially if you are allowing some AI to be used in the assignment, the reflection piece is so important, because then students get to say, why did they use AI and how did it help, and how would they do it differently next time?
Yes. I was talking to a superintendent who has 2 sons in high school, and he said they're not learning at the high school is in a different town, and he's superintendent. He said they're not learning anything about AI. And so one of my sons came to me and said, would you read my paper before I turn it in? And he said, why are you having me read it? Let's go to AI. Let's have AI read it, and then let's start asking questions. And I loved that, because they were working with the AI, and he was
Collaborator.
them one-to-one, how to work with it in that way. But, he was really concerned that his kids weren't getting this and will be in college in a year, and, what's happening. So the fact that you are offering these lessons and getting them involved, I think, is so important, because we think the kids are all using it, but he said that's really not the case that he has seen. Not all of them are. Right. And sometimes it's an equity issue if you have devices at home that you could use it with. So important that we're teaching this in the school and making sure we all, but I believe so. Kudos.
Yeah. In one of the lessons I have these questions to ask students themselves about using AI, and be used for reflection, since we're just talking about that. And that is like, what is my purpose for using AI on this task?
Right.
Am I doing the thinking or letting AI take over? Does my use of AI show academic honesty and integrity?
Back to work.
Are you supposed to be using it? And then are you disclosing it?
Yes.
And then I love this one. What might I not be learning if I let AI do this for me?
Yeah. What are we missing out on? I like that one. That really allows them to differentiate between, did I just, use it, slop, or am I, and because of that, am I missing some things? Are there things that, there's some gaps in my learning?
Yeah.
I like that reflection.
Yeah.
And is AI helping me grow or just helping me finish?
Right.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of the coin, when we talk about the adults, I was having a conversation with a district leader that leads the principals in the district. And she was saying that they've been using AI in their MTSS process, and it has really expanded their horizons. And what would they not know if they weren't using AI? There are more interventions, more ideas, because you all know we kind of stick with the same ones and try to apply them to many, many kids. And she said it's really taught them a lot and expanded their repertoire of interventions.
Yeah.
Even just personally for me, the last couple of years have been, I have learned more, I've accomplished more.
Yeah.
I am more creative than I ever have been before.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the trick. Now, a lot of teachers like to see the process that the students are going through by reviewing chat logs. So is that something that now only you only do that with certain tools, or sometimes teachers ask students to print them out? Is that a strategy that you've used before? And how logistically do you get around that?
Well, it's funny. I mean, if I was in the classroom, I would totally be having students submit their chat conversations.
Yeah.
I'd probably like them to annotate them before they turn them in so that they can show like, oh, this worked, this didn't.
Right.
Right.
But I've learned a sad lesson in that. So in Council Bluffs, we're a Google Workspace for Education district, and we have Gemini, and Gemini now is available to all grade levels, all ages.
Right.
So I'm like, great, this is awesome. And then I noticed there's a difference between my personal account and my education account. And then I also have a student account as well, where on my personal account, there's a share button for every conversation, and I can get a public share link and send it off to anybody, or I can share it with just a certain person. That share button does not exist in Gemini for Google Workspace for Education for teachers or for students. Neither of them can share their chat logs. And I guess that's because of privacy. They don't want something leaking out accidentally or on purpose. So that's kind of disheartening because I thought that was a really good strategy. So it's going to have to be, do print to PDF and then, or take a screenshot or recap it or do a screencast about, actually, this just came to me. That would be really good, is to have the student do a screencast and explain their conversation, and what they got and why they got it. So that's just the power of constraints, right? When you can't do something you want to do and you have to have a workaround, sometimes the workaround is better than what you were originally going to do. So I am writing that down right now.
Yeah, a new lesson.
Me too. Yeah. That's even better, because talking, I say this all the time, talking is thinking. So if not only if we're just going to have the kids print it out, but instead, like you said, have them talk about their process and kind of screen share and show that's golden, because it really shows what their learning was. It's that lens. I mean, that's wonderful formative assessment in that way. I'm actually doing a workshop later today, a webinar on formative assessment. Well, actually, one of the things we're going to be talking about is how I'll mention AI in there too, right? So AI, and hearing lots of panels and reading lots of things. And in some cases it's happening now, and others a little bit in the future, but AI will be a companion, a tutor for each and every student. And what that will do is, I call it like the first layer, right? So it's that instructional phase where students are getting some instruction, they're getting some quick feedback, which is a great strategy, because a lot of times when I talk with teachers, the trouble is that they want a conference with kids and they want to get that formative data, but they can't get it in time. They can't meet with students, but they don't have time. They don't get it all in. But if AI can provide that first layer, giving the instruction and formative checks, then teachers can use that formative data to inform their next steps, like formative data is meant for. And then it frees up space in the instruction, because now they don't have these, longer direct instruction times in the class, but instead they can move to what you were talking about before, the PBL, the blended learning, that they can have those opportunities where kids are creating and they're doing these great personalized learning projects. So eventually, I think that's what we'll see. I think we see it bits and pieces here. There are AI schools. I don't know if you've seen any of those, but there are AI schools. I'm trying to get some people on the podcast to talk about that, where it's in the morning, it's just instruction time with their AI tutor, teachers are the facilitators, and in the afternoon, it's just project time based on what they want to do. So I think we're getting there. We're going to get there. And I kind of call it that first layer and second layer. But do you see it happening right now? Do you have some teachers who are ready? Is the school not ready yet? what is your?
Yeah, I think nothing's quite ready for that,
Yeah.
for it working in the way we probably envision. In that, right now, like what teachers can offer students is like a student room in like Magic School or School AI, but it's all text based. So there's a lot of typing or maybe talking back and forth, but so much of learning is visual. So I think that AIs have to come along and they have to be able to, the AI has to know and bring up a whiteboard and be able to write things and invite students to circle stuff and give them, I mean, we're probably not very far away from that happening, but until it can be made more visual, particularly for math, text-based is great for practicing vocabulary, revising your writing, thinking through ideas, and it's great. But I think once it can become more visual, that's going to really help along with students being tutored by AI.
You know, it's so funny you said that, because in thinking about the Google ecosystem, we've got Notebook LM, which does have that infographic, but it's not great, right? So you can take, you can upload something or several things, and then it'll create infographics, but really not great yet. But then also they have the opportunity within, I guess it's within Gemini. Well, they have the Google vids, right? So you can take, it creates basically like sort of like a webinar, but it's just a PowerPoint with them talking through it. So, and I said, I can't wait till it actually takes content and makes a visual out of it. So that learning is, we can create videos that are woo, but the learning piece, just like you said, there's still that gap. It's not quite there.
It needs to be real time so that it can respond and ask students questions and do its own little formative assessment so it knows which direction to go.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be so interesting when we invite you back next year and see where we are, because I mean, it's always leaps and bounds within a couple of months. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Well, and as we're talking about the future, Tony, what kind of proposals, what kind of sessions are you proposing to do? Because I know you speak all over the country. What are your topics now? What are you focused?
Oh gosh, that's funny. You just asked that because I just submitted a bunch. I'm a featured speaker at the Georgia Education Technology Conference in Atlanta in November. And I think this might be it's really close to 20th year of being a featured speaker there. So it's so kind for them to invite me back each year. So that's the place where I like to bring in some of my newest stuff.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to call up what I wrote there and tell you a few of the topics.
Yeah. What's on your roadmap? We always want to know what's on Tony's road.
and it's not all AI, but some is. One is actually I try to come up with somewhat clever names, but choose your own chat adventure. And that really is the art of prompting School AI or Magic School to teach your students something. And you can get really creative. You can have it be a choose your own adventure type thing, but you can have it start with a specific question or send them to a specific link and then come back and then is have a little like key phrase that I say, and all the students are doing it at the same time. Like, all right, everybody, tell the AI that you have that it's time to wrap up. And then I've put in my prompt when it says time to wrap up, then take everything you've just done and put it into a limerick or your conversation. So just a bunch of stuff like that to make these AI guided activities that students create or that teachers create, make them fun and meaningful for students.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Another one is vibe coding, just having the AI code for you, or you don't have to really know coding. There are so many right now. I've done some brain breaks that I've vibe coded and some like little activities. And so it's really, if you have an idea, you could, if you have the right words, describe it and create a tool or an app or a slide in your presentation. Any chatbot will code for you, and Canva AI can do really cool things and publish it right in a Canva design. So I'm excited for those.
Do you use Claude at all?
I do. I I jump around which of the big three are my favorite. And Claude was my favorite for a while. I paid for it, and now kind of into ChatGPT and Gemini a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
But Claude at first was where I got started coding, because the other one wouldn't host your code for you. So then you coded something, you had to figure out where to put it.
Right.
Now you
the
can get like a
artifacts
shareable
can
link.
be public. Yeah.
Yeah. So other session is really talking about AI literacy, doing an overview of some of these essential questions I shared with you, and what do we teach students to get them to be aware and critique and explore. Aside from some of my AI topics, I've had a 3D printer for 10 years, and recently I got a new one, and it's like just so much easier to use and friendly. I probably wouldn't have recommended 3D printing with my old 3D printer, because things would stick or not. I mean, I was troubleshooting way more than I was printing.
Mm-hmm.
Now printers have come a long way. I got this new one, and so when I went back and taught in the classroom, I used 3D printing for lots of things, even though that printer was
You had to have patience.
a challenge. Patience, but I made stuff for my students, and so and now even as a sub, I 3D print things. There's just a world of things. I call it printspiration, 3D ideas you'll want to copy. And so I have just I'm actually printing off a whole bunch of things that I'll show with a document camera that I 3D printed for my phone.
There
so
you go. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
And then so some that I actually printed or presented last year, and I want to do again, is I call them digital snacks. They're like little digital brain break-ish kind of things for students, and I've collected hundreds of them, where they're either videos or websites that you don't have to log into, that you can just quickly like do a little activity. Or some of them are sensory, some of them are more cognitive, some of them are motivational, but it's fun to just share a few of them and then give the audience my huge list that I've been curating for a couple of years.
And you are always so good about sharing resources. I love that about you, because I would go to a session, but then I needed to come home and really work with it a little bit. And you were so good about sharing resources. Where can people find your resources? Are you still sharing?
Oh, yeah. For the digital snacks, well, my website is learninginhand.com. And you can go to learninginhand.com/snacks. And that's like the hand that I give out at conferences. And then since you asked, at learninginhand.com, in the top right corner, there's a newsletter button. And that's my number one avenue of sharing. When I add new snacks, I'll write that in my newsletter. I used to put it out every week, and that almost put me out of commission, because it was a lot. So now it's bi-weekly, like every other week.
Yes.
I wish I could just spend all my time writing newsletters, because it was fun to know that I'm sharing stuff with teachers, and I always get replies back of teachers loving what they're learning in that.
You can have some of your teachers be guest collaborators too, and kind of share their or contributors, I mean. So, and they can kind of get to that. They can do little guest spots.
I continually learn from others constantly and reshare that learning. So, and then I guess one more I have that I'll do at the Georgia conference. I did last year, and it was really fun. I call Funky Forms offbeat ideas for Google Forms. We're talking about the amazing things AI can do, but sometimes just the simplicity of a Google form is
an example.
Is nice. So, well, first, one way you can make them funky is they don't allow a lot of customization, but you can change the fonts and the colors and the header. And the header can be an animated GIF. So I show how you can make in examples of animations. And then we start with things like one of my favorite kind of forms is one that, what do I call it? It has answer assurance, or the form is right, like the price is right, where they can't submit it unless every answer is already correct. And you do that through the response validation piece. That way, they keep learning and trying until they get it right. And then when they turn it in, if they've turned it in, then I know they got 100%. They can't turn it in without doing that. Other forms like using that response validation. I call it a less than 53 summary, because it rhymes. That's why I picked 53, but they can only write up to 53 characters. And if they write more, then they can't submit the form until they revise that response to be less than the amount.
Yeah. Brevity is something we need to learn more of. And so I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And then some other funky things is making choose your own adventure stories within Google Forms. You can use the branching function there. And then one of my favorites is just to use it as a game show buzzer. There are tools out there, or like back when I started teaching in the 1900s, I had the PTO buy buzzers for me. They're like $400. They're Jeopardy style. They eventually broke. Now everybody can buzz in, and I can ask them for the answer too. So they can buzz in, they can answer, and then because they all filter into a spreadsheet in order, and I can see the name and who buzzed in.
Cool.
I do this constantly, even when I sub, because it's real easy for me to just give them a link to the buzzer, and then they refresh it for each question that I say verbally or I display on the screen. So just using it as a buzzer has been
That's
kind of a feat.
That's really cool. So if I'm a teacher listening, I could find this in your newsletter, how to do that.
I don't know if I've written about this in my newsletter, but I'm sure I will as it's coming out. My newsletters are usually based on about what I'm about to present. So it will be there. Yeah.
Well, you have lots of funky ideas that you've shared with us today. So I think whether people continue to learn from you through podcasts like this, your newsletter, your websites, getting being blessed to see you in person at conferences, they're just getting a whole lot of creativity in all areas. Love it.
I try. I do love to share, and it's fun to see people build on my ideas. So here's how you can do your form, and then have you tried this or that? And that's a really neat part to see.
And the best part is that you contribute to the profession so openly and giving back, which is so great. So we appreciate that about you.
Well, thanks.
You bet. Well, thank you for being on the LinkedUp podcast. And we will definitely look into your newsletter and sign up and have that link in there for our listeners.
Thanks. It's free.
Yes, we love free.
Thanks for inviting me on the chat. I love talking with you too.
So we're going to have you back after this conference season. We'll have you back.
Yeah.
All right. It's a deal.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening. And if you would like to stay linked up, be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube.